This is Dan Bjorklund, landless agronomist, and I'm conducting a quality of the stand assessment at our plot at Farnhamville, and I'll repeat this at each of our plots this year. And what I do is, we've got about 38 hybrids in here. I go into each hybrid. I'll go in about 20 steps, so I'm going into the same area of the field initially, count out the equivalent of 100 plants, and look at how many plants out of 100 came late and have an underdeveloped ear, how many plants actually died during the stress that we've had in the last month early or ghosted out and have another underdeveloped or incomplete filled ear. And what I'm looking at is the percentage of the initial stand, just to see what did we really end up with. I think this is important in a stress year to determine why certain genetics responded the way they did, and it'll help you in picking out products for potential stress years in the future. So we're going to look at two products, and that's the process that we'll use. So in this first hybrid, I'm also looking at plant health. First thing I notice is that this 111 day, it's got some plant health up above, but we're right up to the ear, leaf, and above, and these plants are, their milk line here is past halfway, so we're just about finished. But plant health also is important for late season standability, and so I like to take note of that. Well, here are the plants I counted out. I counted out 50. And what I'm looking for when I do this is I walk down and I count, I look for plants like this and keep track. Out of the 50, here's 1, 2, 3. This is an underdeveloped ear, came later compared to this one. And I counted 6 out of 50 that had ears that were late. Well, the plants were late emerging, and we didn't develop a full ear. This is only not quite even half size. So 6 plants out of 50. Take that times 2 to get 100 for percentages, and you had 12% of the stand that had late emergence due to whatever happened during spring planting. In addition to that, then I go back and I look for plants that ghosted out. And what do I mean by that? I mean a plant that died early. And here's one that did that. You can see we got healthy plant on this side, and on this side we have a plant that died several weeks ago. And as I look at this ear, these I mean, you could almost shell these kernels out. They're not in there tight. I call it even spongy. When you twist this ear, you can almost break it in half, versus one that's still filling. Oh, nice test weight. Just going to be a heavier kernels, heavier ear. So I counted an additional 4 plants that were ghosted out in these 50. So on top of the 12 out of 100 that emerged late, we had an additional 8. These 4 ghosted plants times 2, additional 8 that died early. So we got 20 plants, 20% of the stand that was impacted by stress. Now, when you look at genetics, yield by any type of a hybrid that we look at is the genetics that we have, by the environment that we're dealing with. And so I'd rate this pretty poor for tolerating this year. Now let's take a look at another one and see how it compares to this one we just evaluated. Okay, I'm just down about 16 rows into the next hybrid. This is 113 days. So we looked at 111 day, 113 day. They're close enough in maturity to make a good comparison. What I noticed with this one, first of all, as you can see behind me, much better plant health than the first one that we looked at. So I make that note when I'm evaluating hybrid plots. I paced off 20 paces, just like I did the first time. So in each of these, I walk in 20 paces, counted out 50 plants. You could do 100, but I think 50 is pretty easy for any of us to do. And then I went in here and did the same thing. First thing that I looked for was any plants that came late. And here's one that came real late. I mean, it didn't even try to do an ear. I found 2 of these out of 50. So that would be 4 out of 100, 4%. Then I went and looked for ghost plants. And here's one, obviously. This plant died a couple weeks ago. Here's a plant that's still healthy, normal ear. This ear is dropping down, and it still doesn't look like a bad ear, but man, see how easy it is to almost shell out these kernels. So test weight's going to be reduced, weight of the kernel. This one is just compact. Found 2 of these out of 50. So another 4 out of 100. So I found 4 out of 100 late emergers and 4 ghost plants. So that was 8 out of 100. 8% of this hybrid was impacted by this environment versus the one we looked at previous that had 20. 20% of that stand was not up to snuff for quality, and this one only had 8%. In a year like this year, and just walking and looking at these, I call this a pretty defensive hybrid. And maybe in a year where you're getting 250 to 270, this hybrid's gonna only go so far. But in a year like this year, there's gonna be significant difference in yield between this hybrid and the one we looked at first, due to the quality of the stand. That's why genetics are important. And I'll do this with every hybrid in every plot that we have. And it answers the question of why were there differences. That's the purpose of doing this. So just a quick way of checking the quality of your stand. And all you guys could go out and do that. You're not going to change what happened, but it'd be a good way to evaluate the hybrids that you planted this year, to look at which ones, if we look at another stress year next year, which ones might be ones we want to keep in the portfolio. Hey, Dan Bjorklund signing off. Till next time.